cross-examination of former CHC finance manager Serena Wee continued this past week. This week in court, the prosecution continued to pursue the issue of the alleged sham bonds. The deputy public prosecutor put a hypothetical scenario to Wee. If the bonds were sham, the defendants would have to find a way to meet the obligations of the bonds as they were about to be exposed. Wee said that she was not in a position to say what she would do if she was involved in sham bonds, because the Extron bonds were not sham. She also repeatedly stated that Extron had genuine obligations to redeem the bonds and the Extron directors were the ones who bore the responsibility. The court saw an email written by Wee listing down advice from auditor Fung Dao Cheng, who reportedly told them not to minute down everything during the meetings so as not to paint the picture that City Harvest Church controlled Extron. When he was on the stand in 2013, Fung claimed that he gave no such advice and said that he would not have told anyone to do any improper thing by suggesting that the defendants misrepresent the relationship CHC had with Extron. Wee refuted Fung's testimony. She told the court that the then managing director of Baker Tilly had in fact told the defendants what to do with minutes of the two entities in order to keep them at arm's length. She also added that she didn't feel Fung's advice had been improper. The prosecution called this an extrapolation of what Fung had told her, which she used to justify maintaining the appearance that CHC and Extron were independent entities dealing at an arm's length basis. We disagreed. The prosecution reiterated its case that the Furna bonds were sham and its director, Wahyu Hanafi, was just conduit in the defendant's plan to channel funds from the church to the crossover project. The deputy public prosecutor said that because Hanafi was only a conduit, the bonds were separate from the Furna's business. The DPP alleged that this was why Furna's CFO had no clue what the bonds were about. He referred to an email which Agus, Furna's chief financial officer, asked Wee several questions about Furna bonds. We disagreed with the DPP's reading. She explained that the proceeds of the Furna bonds provided for the return of the shareholders' loan, which was part of Furna's general working capital. We also told the court that Agus had a copy of the bond subscription agreement, and the questions he was asking was on things not in the agreement. The DPP said that Wee's testimony that the return of the shareholders' fund to Hanafi, followed by Hanafi using his own money to support the crossover project, was fiction. We disagreed, reiterating that there were real obligations under the Furna bonds. She added that all the lawyers involved in the bond subscription agreement knew that the bond proceeds would go to Hanafi as a return of the shareholders' loan. The prosecution alleged that the real motivation for the Special Opportunities Fund was to allow church funds to be passed through AMAC, Ultimate Assets, and Furna so that Furna could use the funds to redeem the Furna bonds. The DPP then painted the picture that the entire series of bond redemption transactions, which involved Extron, Furna, Ultimate Assets, AMAC, and the church, was designed to hide the trail of funds and obscure the fact that it was really the church's own money that had really been used to pay itself. We maintained that the SOF was a real investment. When church money was invested through AMAC, it was no longer the church's money. When the DPP suggested that the church board, Extron, and Furna directors were not informed of the entire round-tripping plan, we disagreed, pointing out that it had been her understanding all along that it was the church board that had wanted the bonds to be redeemed. Additionally, approval from Extron's directors was required before any funds could be transferred, so it was clear the Extron directors were aware of the plan. At the end of this week, the court saw the prosecution trying to make a case of the round-tripping transactions. The clearing of the bonds from CHC's accounts had sparked off a series of transactions made even more complex by the delay in the crossover album and the church's active hunt for a new building for its worship services. The court saw how the funds were invested into the Special Opportunities Fund, which we maintain was a genuine investment that yielded returns to the church. The prosecution will end its cross-examination of Serena Wee on Monday, May 18th. This is Wayne Chung for City News, Singapore.